All right, here's a story from my younger days that just might save your drone from damage or even worse. I was learning to fly in the process of getting my private pilot's license, and I had maybe 20 to 30 hours of flight time under my belt and was feeling quite confident. I had met my flight instructor out at the airport, and as always, I had gotten the pre-flight inspection checklist from the aircraft I was flying that day, and it had been ingrained in my training to follow this list religiously, as any missed item could be fatal. I completed my exterior checks and got in the cockpit with my instructor, where I flipped the checklist over and started going over the items necessary to start the engine and taxi out for takeoff. Now, this involved quite a few items, including getting an ATIS report, which is just a continuous recorded radio broadcast that gives you aeronautical information for the airport you're at. It changes every hour, having a different letter designation that you have to give to the tower before you taxi. And this just lets the controller know that you're abreast of the weather and any safety alerts and such. Well, I had gotten my ATIS report, gone through the checklist to the point I had started the engines, contacted ground control, had permission to taxi out to the runway, and just as I advanced the throttle and started to roll forward, I looked out the window and here's what I saw. I was like, what the? That's the pitot tube cover, and it's got a big red flag on it. It typically has this cover over and the end of it when parked to keep debris and bugs out. Now, if you don't know the purpose of the pitot tube, it's part of the system that indicates your airspeed. And if you don't know your airspeed, it would be very easy to stall the aircraft, at which point it ceases to fly, which is not good. So I looked at my instructor and I said, Mark, that's not on the checklist. He looks back and he says, well, maybe that's why it has a big red flag on it. Needless to say, I had to shut down the engine, get out, take the cover off, proceed to go back through my pre-engine start checklist, including calling the tower back as they're wondering, where the hell's this guy at, and why, instead of taxiing out to the runway, am I standing outside the aircraft like a dumbass? At this point, I was more than a little embarrassed with my confidence shot all to hell. Now, the point here is to illustrate how important it is to have a pre-flight checklist and to maybe have a red flag on anything that might be removed prior to flight. And that would be on the drone, yep, your camera gimbal cover. Forgetting to remove the cover is not going to kill anyone, but can certainly damage the gimbal, and that's not what you want, as it can be quite expensive to repair. So out of an abundance of caution, I not only have a bright red streamer on my gimbal cover, but I still to this day use a checklist, and so should you. I've posted a copy of this checklist that I use in the description. It's of a size you can easily laminate it and keep it in your flight bag. I go over it before I leave the house, and then again at the site when I'm flying and right before takeoff, and then I stick it in my back pocket. It has certainly reminded me of some critical things to do before and immediately after takeoff. So print out the checklist, get it laminated, and find you a piece of bright ribbon you can tape to your gimbal cover. You can thank me by hitting that subscribe button, because using a checklist could very well save you from losing your drone, which I hope you never have to experience. Thanks for watching, and fly safe.